At 80 years old, Rod Stewart is finally talking about his friend Ronnie Wood. Rod Stewart was born with the full name Roderick David Stewart on January 10, 1945, in a place called Highgate in London. He came from a regular Nottrich family right after World War II ended in England. Rod's story of going from a working-class kid to a super-famous rock star is all about talent, never giving up, and working really hard. He was the oldest of 5 kids and grew up in a family that stuck together and always had music playing around the house. This home full of music helped Rod discover his love for singing and performing when he was really young. Even though life was tough when he was growing up, Rod found his special voice and cool style early on, which started a music career that would last more than 60 years. Rod's music adventure really got going in the early 1960s when he started joining different British bands to practice and get better at singing. One of his first big breaks happened when he joined a group called the Jeff Beck Group, where his rough, soulful voice got people's attention right away. The mix of Rod's powerful, scratchy voice and the band's heavy rock sound was something totally new back then, putting together rock, blues, and soul music in a fresh way. Later on, when he worked with a band called The Faces, he became even more famous as an exciting and talented performer. He didn't just have an amazing voice, but he also had this magnetic energy on stage that pulled people in and made them love watching him. The Faces became super popular for their high-energy concerts, their sense of humor, and how well the band members worked together. This helped Rod build up the confidence and skills that would make his solo career incredible. Rod Stewart's career as a solo artist really exploded in the late 1960s and early 1970s, showing everyone that he could sing all different types of music really well. With huge hits like Maggie May and You Wear It Well, Rod showed he was amazing at telling stories through his songs, mixing heartfelt words with catchy tunes that got stuck in your head. His songs connected with millions of people because they talked about things everyone understands, like falling in love, having your heart broken, and growing up as a person. As the years went by, Rod kept changing and trying new things with his music, singing rock, pop, R&B, and even old classic songs from way back. Over all these years, he has made dozens and dozens of albums and sold more than 120 million records all around the world, which proves that people have loved his music for a super long time. Big hits like Maggie May, Do You Think I'm Sexy, Sailing, and Forever Young have become songs that will never get old, loved by people of all ages because they have catchy melodies, meaningful lyrics, and Rod's one-of-a-kind scratchy voice. One of Rod's best talents is being able to do so many different things. He has easily moved between lots of different types of music, including rock, pop, folk, disco, and soul, always reinventing himself and trying new things while still sounding like Rod Stewart. Rod Stewart's music journey is like a big treasure chest full of variety and timeless magic, shown through a bunch of amazing albums that highlight both his pop-rock edge and his natural ability to sing beautiful, emotional ballads. In the mid to late 1990s, he put out several standout albums, and each one gave fans a special look into how his art was growing and changing. A spanner in the works from 1995 showed off his signature raspy voice and talent for mixing rock with pop music. Then If We Fall in Love Tonight from 1996 brought fans a collection of romantic love songs and thoughtful classics that reminded everyone that he was one of the best singers of love songs around. Keeping up his creative exploring, When We Were the New Boys from 1998 captured a feeling of young energy and modern reinterpretation, featuring a mix of cover songs and original music that kept his sound fresh and current. After that came The Story So Far, the very best of Rod Stewart, in 2001, a carefully put-together collection that celebrated decades worth of hits and fan-favorite songs, letting both old fans and new listeners experience just how wide-ranging and deep Rod's incredible career really was. Beyond his original music, Rod amazed audiences everywhere with his ambitious and highly praised Great American Songbook series, a bold project where he honored the golden age of American music. Across 4 albums, he brought new life to timeless classic songs from the 1930s and 1940s. It Had to Be You from 2002 was the first one, introducing listeners to Rod's soulful versions of beloved standard songs, followed by As Time Goes By from 2003, which offered intimate, beautifully arranged versions of songs filled with nostalgia and old memories. The series kept going with Stardust from 2004, where his emotional singing and R. Respect for the original melodies really shined, and it all ended with Thanks for the Memory in 2005, a heartfelt tribute to the lasting magic of the American songbook. With these albums, Rod not only showed off his remarkable ability to sing in different styles, but he also connected different generations of people, bringing modern audiences together with the timeless elegance of classic American music. Each record became proof of his lasting artistry, showing that his voice could both rock huge stadiums and gently caress the softest ballads with equal brilliance and skill. Rod Stewart's accomplishments have been recognized with tons of awards and honors. From Grammy nominations to being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, both as a solo artist and with the Faces, his career shows not only popularity but also praise from music critics. Beyond trophies and awards, Rod has used his fame to support charitable causes and connect with fans all over the world, showing generosity and deep appreciation for the people who have supported him his whole journey. Rod Stewart's marriage history reads almost like a series of separate chapters in his life story, with each one marking a different time period in both his personal journey and his rise as a worldwide music superstar. His first marriage was to Alana Collins, a model and actress whose glamorous style seemed perfectly matched with Rod's own rising fame in the late 1970s. The two got married in 1979 at a time when Rod was already famous for his gritty, scratchy voice and his charming, rebellious personality. Their marriage quickly became something entertainment magazines loved to write about, partly because they had such magnetic chemistry, and partly because they looked like the perfect Hollywood power couple, her sunny California vibe balancing out his edgy British cool. Even though their relationship gave them 2 children and brought happy moments, the pressure of being famous, constantly traveling, and the crazy lifestyle surrounding both of them eventually caused problems in the marriage. After 5 years together, they finalized their divorce in 1984, a breakup that was all over the news and emotionally difficult for both Rod and Alana. Despite their marriage ending, their years together had a big impact on Rod's emotional life, inspiring some of his more thoughtful work in later years. Rod entered his second marriage with Rachel Hunter in 1990, and this relationship marked a very different phase for him. Rachel, a supermodel from New Zealand who was almost 25 years younger than him, brought a new kind of energy into his world, youthful, fresh, and full of international glamour and style. Their wedding got attention from people all over the globe, not only because of Rod's fame, but also because their big age difference became something people talked about everywhere, from tabloid magazines to TV shows. But the couple said their love was real and genuine, and for a long time they seemed to represent the ultimate celebrity couple of the 1990s. They had 2 children together and shared a life filled with fancy high-profile events, modeling photo shoots, and the type of public attention that made them fashion and entertainment icons. But even with all the sparkle and glamour, the marriage wasn't protected from problems and strain. By the early 2000s, Rachel and Rod had quietly started drifting apart, and although they stayed separated for several years before making it official with paperwork, their divorce was officially completed in 2006. Rod has talked openly about how deeply this breakup hurt him, at one point even saying he thought Rachel was the one. And the years that came after became a time of deep thinking and reflection that helped change how he thought about love and family. Then came his third marriage, this time to Penny Lancaster, a former model and photographer who came into Rod's life with a calming, down-to-earth, and deeply supportive presence. They got married in 2007, marking the beginning of a new chapter filled with stability, partnership, and mutual respect. Penny, who had already been in Rod's life since the late 1990s, wasn't just a romantic partner, she became his emotional anchor, the person who kept him grounded. Their relationship seemed to grow out of real friendship and shared values, something Rod himself has pointed out many times. With Penny, Rod embraced a more settled-down lifestyle, family-focused, mature, and way less chaotic than the fast-paced world he had lived in during his earlier marriages. They welcomed two children together, and over the years Penny has become an essential part of Rod's public image, not just as his wife but as a woman whose warmth, confidence, and presence complement him beautifully. Their marriage has lasted way longer than his previous two, and Rod often gives Penny credit for helping him grow into a better partner, father, and man as he moved into later stages of his life and Carrie. Lord. For decades, fans have felt that behind the shiny surface of rock and roll friendship, there was a deeper, more complicated story between Rod Stewart and his longtime friend and fellow Faces bandmate Ronnie Wood. Now, at the milestone age of 80, Rod Stewart has finally started opening up about that relationship with a surprising mix of affection, honesty, and the dry humor that has always defined his public personality. Looking back on nearly 60 years of friendship, rivalry, chaos, and mutual admiration, Rod is pulling back the curtain on a bond that has shaped some of the most iconic moments in British rock history. Ronnie's always been like a cheeky little brother to me, Rod begins, and in that one sentence he captures the chaotic heart of their relationship. Rod describes how Wood, even in the early days of the Faces, had a way of showing up in his life like a whirlwind, unpredictable, mischievous, and endlessly enthusiastic. He'd walk into the room grinning, guitar in hand, ready to start trouble, and somehow you always knew you were about to have a great time or end up paying for something expensive. Rod laughs when he says this, but there's a warmth in the way he remembers the younger man's unstoppable energy and spirit. Rod also thinks back on the creative sparks and sometimes fires that define their musical partnership. Ronnie and I didn't always agree on how a song should sound. He'd push me, I'd push back, and then we'd somehow meet in the middle with something magical. That was Ronnie's gift. He could turn tension into music. Rod explains that Wood had a way of cutting through all the noise and tapping into the raw emotional heart of a song. Even when they argued, even when the recording studio was thick with cigarette smoke and big egos, there was an undeniable sense of shared purpose and working toward the same goal. He kept me honest, Rod says, and trust me, in those years I needed someone to do that. But Rod doesn't avoid talking about the darker, harder moments either. He speaks openly and honestly about the years when addiction, fame, and outside pressures put strain on their relationship. There were times when I didn't know if Ronnie would make it to the next show, he admits. We were all wild, but Ronnie lived on a razor's edge for a long time. Rod talks about watching his friend struggle while feeling both helpless and frustrated, not sure whether to step in and help or step back and give him space. Sometimes I had to walk away and hope he'd find his way, and somehow he always did, but it was bloody hard to watch. Still, the main thread running through Rod's reflections and memories is one of loyalty and sticking by each other. No matter how long we'd go without talking, months, even years, the second we were in the same room, it was like no time had passed. He describes the natural rhythm they shared, the inside jokes, the teasing, the way Wood could make him laugh harder than almost anyone else. Ronnie's got this thing about him. You can't stay mad at him. You try, believe me, but it never works. Their friendship took on a new dimension and meaning when Wood joined the Rolling Stones. Many people wondered if Rod felt overshadowed or left behind as Ronnie stepped into one of the most legendary rock bands in history. Rod addresses this question with refreshing honesty. Was I jealous? Of course I was. Who wouldn't be? But I was proud too. Ronnie deserved that stage. He'd worked his ass off for it and he belonged there. He adds that their careers going in different directions only made their mutual respect stronger. He wasn't just my mate from the Faces anymore. He became Ronnie Wood, rock legend, and I loved seeing that happen. Today, as both men slow down slightly, though neither shows signs of stopping completely, Rod sees their bond with even more clarity and understanding. We grew up together in a way. We went through things most people can't imagine and we survived it. That's something rare. He pauses for a moment, then adds with a big grin, and now we're a couple of old geysers who still talk rubbish and crack each other up. Some things never change. In the end, Rod Stewart's late-in-life reflections on Ronnie would paint a portrait of two men bound together not just by music, but by the shared experience of surviving the beautiful madness of rock and roll. Their story is one of brotherhood, friction, forgiveness, and deep affection, the sort of connection that can only be created by years lived loudly, dangerously, and side by side. And as Rod puts it, Ronnie's family always has been, always will be.